Okay, welcome everybody to the December 7th, 2022 meeting, special meeting of the Traffic and Transportation Advisory Commission. If you will please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Vasquez, can you please call the roll?
Commissioner Ferris,
Here.
Commissioner Hayek,
Here.
Vice Chair Pletcher,
Here.
Chair Amell,
Here.
Commissioner Lemo is absent.
Okay, Ms. Vasquez, can you please make the public comments announcement?
This is a time and place for public comments. Registration for public comments is available for those wishing to address the Traffic Commission regarding items on the agenda or on a subject within the city's jurisdiction. Speakers for specific agenda items shall be called and heard during that specific item. All remarks should be addressed to the Traffic Commission as a whole. Speakers are requested to state their name and community of residence for the record. Under state law, public comment matters may not be considered by the Traffic Commission unless listed on the agenda, but may be referred to the city engineer for administrative follow-up. 0 individuals have requested to speak on this item. 0 written statements have been submitted. Also, please silence all cell phones during the meeting, and please remember to mute your microphones when you are not speaking.
Madam Secretary, we did have one written statement, correct?
Not on the public comment section, but on the item itself. Yeah, 6.
Okay, thank you. All right, since we have no speakers, we can move to item number 5 on the summary notes, which is that is our summary notes from our November 16th, 2022 meeting. Are there any comments from the commissioners regarding the summary notes? Commissioner Pletcher, or I'm sorry, Commissioner Ferris.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So one thing I wanted to offer one correction, potential correction, and one clarification. Under section 2, where I think it's second paragraph, Commissioner Lemo made a motion to accept. I think it might make for a better flow of what happened if the last 2 lines, which states motion fails 1-4 by the following votes, was moved after the next paragraph starting Vice Chair Pletcher. Because I think that what happened during the meeting was a motion was made, we discussed the nature of the motion, Vice Chair Pletcher offered a substitute motion, we had the discussion about whether to entertain it, he removed it, then we went back to the motion and voted on it. So I wonder if that's a correction that could be made to better reflect what I think happened. I'm happy to entertain discussion by the commission on that.
I think that's correct, chronologically speaking, right? As far as what happened at the last meeting. So I mean, I would tend to agree with the comment. Are there any other comments from the commissioners?
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I also did have one kind of clarification that I wanted to offer as well. Not a change.
Sure.
But I wanted to also mention it. Vice Chair Pletcher had mentioned during the process of making what he had kind of described as a substitute motion, and there was discussion about whether that was in order and doing that. So in my research I wanted to kind of get a sense of what is out there and what's called substitute motion. At least in my experience within the city of Thousand Oaks, the nature of substitute motions, that's not at least what it's called. In some cases, a substitute motion is sort of what's called a subsidiary motion, or it's an actual amendment to the motion. So if it's, and sometimes it's called that, and if it's offered in that case, which is something that is intended to modify the existing motion on the floor, it certainly is in order. And so it's one of the things that I'd want to identify as what Vice Chair Pletcher had sort of brought to our attention regarding what other jurisdictions do with substitute motions. My understanding, or at least at the time, I had sort of taken the substitute motion as being something that was being offered in place of the current motion, and I think that's the reason why I was mentioning it. So I wanted to clarify that there are some of what's generally called substitute motions, and I just wanted to make sure that people had an understanding of why the discussion occurred the way it did, but honor what Vice Chair Pletcher had sort of offered with respect to what other jurisdictions mentioned. So.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Ferris. So based on that comment, are there any revisions that you want to make to? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, if I may just chime in real quick on that issue. Under our municipal code, it specifically says in section 1-8.112, subdivision D5, where it discusses motions to amend, it says that a substitute motion on the same subject shall be acceptable. So a substitute motion is treated as an amendment to the main motion, and that's how I understood it. And a motion to amend would take precedent over the main motion. You would take a motion to amend before the motion to approve the main item.
And I completely concur with that view on that. I did not, at least it perceived at the time, I did not think that it was offered as an intent to amend the motion. I thought it was an intent to replace the motion. If it was offered as an intent to amend, I stand in error. I didn't think it was, because I thought it was sort of offered as a means of redirecting it back to staff and sort of taking it off the table. So that's understood. And what was the municipal code section again, just so that I have that?
Sure. It's section 1-8.112, which is powers and duties of the presiding officer, and it's subdivision D5.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Council. Are there any other comments regarding the summary notes from our last meeting? Okay, hearing no further comments, we can move now to item number 6, which is our engineers' reports, in which I understand City Engineer Nader Haidari will be submitting the report for us tonight.
That is correct. Thank you very much. Good evening, Commissioners. This is a continued item from our November meeting on the crossing guard item. Based on the feedback provided by the Commission on the October 19th, 2022 meeting and the November 16th meeting, staff is returning to offer final recommendations on the new crossing guard standards and policies. As you know, tonight's meeting is the culmination of 5 prior meetings with the Traffic Commission and the City Council earlier this year on the crossing guard program, the last of 3 of which are detailed here. In October, staff, in what you can call a study session, provided a history and current standards to the Traffic Commission and received feedback on a possible program and policy changes. Coming back the following month in November, we presented a proposed draft policy and standards to the Traffic Commission. The Commission requested additional alternative criteria to be included, and as well as there was a couple of minor items to be cleaned up in the draft resolution. And now we're here tonight with you with a revised crossing guard policy and standards to be presented with a recommendation to adopt. Here's an overview of the proposed review authority that's outlined in the resolution that's included in your packet tonight. We've structured the reviewing body for the engineering counts to be the Public Works Director, with a summary report to be brought to the Traffic Commission annually. This is in part in response to the direction and discussions at the last meeting that clarified that the Traffic Commission being an advisory commission and not a discretionary body, and also the desire not to have the Traffic Commission perhaps have to make all the administrative decisions. So let's just walk through this as outlined here on this slide. So there were any requests for additional guards or locations to be submitted in writing to the Public Works Department. Staff will report to the Public Works Director annually and identify the locations after analysis that do not meet the minimum standards. The Traffic Commission will review and approve that annual list and take any public comment. Appeal of the Public Works Director's decision to the City Council is maintained and included in the review authority process, and that 1 year deferral of closure for any locations that have not previously been communicated is also maintained and included in the process. This summarizes the proposed new minimum thresholds that appeared to have consensus at the last meeting, with locations needing to meet all 4 standards in order to be eligible, unless an alternative criteria is applicable, which we'll talk about in a second. And any pedestrian counts less than 10 for any location will disqualify a location from eligibility, including the alternative criteria. So as requested by the Commission at the last meeting, staff expanded the list of alternatives, which had previously included just item number 1, and added 3 additional alternative criteria that will make the program even more flexible while still staying within the MUTC guidelines and just as importantly, remaining objective in terms of the analysis for each one. The details of each are in your packet and in the draft resolution, but let's just walk through each one. The first alternative says that a location can still be eligible if 3 out of the 4 criteria are met, as long as the 3 that do meet the higher MUTCD thresholds. Second, and then the second one, which is the first of the newer ones we've added, is the traffic volume alternative, which allows for intersections to qualify with as low as 10 pedestrians, based on a higher traffic volume at those locations, which is, I believe, 1,000, traffic count of 1,000. Alternative number 3 is a speed limit alternative. This is for the higher speed roadways, which can, in those cases, the vehicle counts are dropped by 10%. So that makes it easier for those intersections to qualify. And alternative number 4 is similar. It's the 10% reduction in vehicle counts if the roadway width is over 40 feet in width, and one of the larger crossings, in recognition of that. In summary, the new policy provides clear criteria for residents, pedestrians, school district, city staff, and the Traffic Commission to objectively determine, analyze if intersections are eligible for cards, and is more generous than the commonly used state standards, the MUTCD. The recommendation is here, and with the blessing and approval tonight, staff will take the recommendations to the City Council for adoption of the policy as the next step in early 2023 or spring 2023 at the latest. And staff is available for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Haydari. Does the commission have any questions of staff? Commissioner Ferris.
Thank you. So, thank you, Mr. Dari. There was I think, change in the nature of the approval process and how that eventually gets to the council from the previous session, which sort of gave an understanding the Traffic Commission would have some decision-making authority, potentially of denial, where this draft sort of says that the Public Works Director will be making those decisions, reporting to the Traffic Commission, and potentially appealable for that.
Right.
I just wanted to clarify, you referenced that the nature of the Traffic and Transportation Advisory Commission is an advisory one, and is that sort of like upon reflection and kind of the nature of how the commission was stood up by the council and what its intent was, that's the nature of the change of moving from what was a little bit of discretion to, no, we're really just kind of receiving a report and advising on how the council might think about things, but no actual change of authority. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct. Yes.
Okay. I just want to understand that was
Yeah.
something that came out, but I think with the explanation of kind of the nature of the commission and how it stood up, giving it any authority probably would change the council's overall makeup of what they gave the authority. So that I understand. let me see. I did have some question about some of the wording, and I wanted to get an understanding of what some of the things were. So, in the way the structure, the first section says request to add any crossing guards shall be in writing. So that sort of says if they're not already on the list for evaluation, you can get one evaluated on the list. You have to do it in writing. Staff number 2 then says staff will report annually to the Public Works Director all currently approved locations and will identify all locations that do not meet the city's minimum standards or for alternatives. Is it clear what will come to the Traffic Commission at that point? It seems to me like it would be those that were maybe approved last year, plus those that would be submitted in writing for evaluation, and then the decisions of the Public Works Director would be crafted and presented to the Traffic Commission. Is that the intent of?
I think the summary report that the Traffic Commission would receive would be more all-encompassing. It would be a complete analysis of here's the entire program, here's all the locations, here's the new ones potentially that were requested and qualify, here's the ones that no longer qualify. So it wouldn't be as small as just the changes. It would be the entire list.
Oh, I guess I didn't intend to be the changes. I meant that it would include evaluation of all prior approved locations, plus those that were asked to be evaluated in writing.
Right.
I'm just asking, is the language of that clear? It was a little fuzzy to me that's what would be coming, but because it says all currently approved locations.
So that's all existing ones.
Right.
But you're saying that, so that doesn't specify in there that it's and any new locations.
Yeah, just something to
Right.
where like the evaluation of what comes to the Traffic Commission would be all of these locations and what the Public Works Director's decisions are about approval or not approval because of the evaluation against the criteria. Maybe that's some additional language, maybe in 3, just to kind of articulate exactly what locations would comprise that report. Would that help there?
Yeah.
Okay.
We can add that to number 3.
And then for number 5, it's a little fuzzy on what I was looking for. So it says, if an existing location fails to meet the city minimum standards, including any applied alternative, what does that mean in staff's?
Yeah, I think it means any of the standard, that chart, as well as any of the 4 applied alternatives.
So if it meets none of the standards, is that?
Yeah.
Okay. Fails to meet any. Okay, maybe it's clear to others. It was a little. I just wanted to get a sense of it, and that's fine. If the commission feels that it's sufficiently worded, that's good. It was just it felt a little different.
We could replace the including with an or potentially. It fails to meet the city's minimum standards or any applied alternative, or as well as any applied alternative.
The intent is that it fails to meet all of them, right? Like that is kind of the intent, right?
Right.
Okay. Okay. If that's the intent and that's clear, that's fine. Thank you. I just appreciate the walkthrough of what some of the language intends. All right. Thank you.
I have a couple of questions just to tack on to what Commissioner Ferris was talking about. When it comes to the section regarding review authority, I just kind of wanted to maybe walk through the timeline of a request to add a crossing guard location, because it seems to me it may be beneficial to have this discussion, because what I envision is somebody makes a request for a crossing guard location. Let's say it's, I don't know, mid-semester. right? And there's a decision that's made on that request, and let's just say it's a denial. At some point, I guess, the traffic commission's going to find out about that, but we're only receiving an annual report. So there's a report coming to us once a year. And if somebody has a request that's denied, how long do they have to wait for us to get the report? Because that then triggers the timeline for them to appeal, according to how this is written. And when we get the report, we're not actually doing anything with it. We're just getting a report. It's not even an action item. So it just seems to me that it's a little unfair to make somebody requesting an addition of a crossing guard location who has their request denied to wait for some perfunctory hearing that we're going to have on a report that actually has, like, we don't really do anything with it. And then that triggers their 14-day period to appeal. So, I just kind of wanted to know, is there a timeline by which the Public Works Director has to approve or deny a request? And, shouldn't a denial of a request trigger the timeline to appeal to the city council? And it just seems like we're kind of like a unnecessary intermediary in that process.
Yeah, I'll speak to the first question. The analysis is done annually. So if someone is going to request a crossing guard, we look at the whole program. We do the counts at the right period of time. We don't do it during the holidays, and so typically it's done during the spring. When able to, we do fall and spring counts. But so we analyze the program in the spring so that we can potentially make the appropriate changes over the summer, in preparation for the next school year. So. The review and analysis by the Public Works Director will be taking place approximately, in close proximity to when the summary report will be coming to the Traffic Commission. So it won't be a decision from 8 months ago. The all analysis will be done right around that same time in the spring, which is when right after that we'll be coming to the Traffic Commission. So there won't be a big delay or gap there necessarily, but that can be just considered. And in terms of the appeal period, I think the idea was that this would be a venue or a forum for people to be able to have public comment and have a sounding board, a discussion point here before they go directly from staff to council, and then council saying why is this coming straight to us, or aren't these reviewed by the Traffic Commission first? So that was the idea there, that the appeal period is still triggered to the public meeting.
Okay, so I appreciate those comments. So if we have a meeting and one of the agenda items is a report, and it's an annual report that discloses all of the currently approved locations, and then we're going to have, theoretically people in a room giving us comments about their thoughts on that report. I mean, couldn't they give their comments at the city council level? I don't understand why, because we can't do anything with it. It's like shouting from the mountaintops. No one's going to hear it. I mean, we can't do anything with it. So I don't understand why somebody who makes a request, and look, I'm also talking about a situation where somebody makes a request to add a crossing guard location because there's some unforeseeable event or there's some unforeseeable extraordinary circumstance, and I can't think of one off the top of my head right now, but it's calling for a crossing guard at a particular location right now. And it's not going to wait until the end of the school year. I mean, this does not allow any flexibility to account or accommodate that type of situation. So I don't want to be the, guy, throwing speed bumps out there, but I'm just trying to figure out, is it workable? the way that it's written, just the procedural components of it.
Yeah, I mean, this is generally the process that's been used to evaluate these annually. We haven't seen that situation before. I suppose COVID could have been one where patterns changed rapidly and so forth. But outside of that, these patterns don't seem to change that drastically district-wide. And if anything, over the course of time, over the last 10 or 20 years, with declining enrollment, the counts have not gone up. It's been either flat or so. We haven't seen a sudden change at campuses where there's quadruple all of a sudden the number of cars or students.
Sure. Yeah, right. I get it. So, like, if somebody makes a request to add a crossing guard location, let's say in September, October, is what you're telling me that request will not be acted upon until the end of the school year when the new counts are taken, the new pedestrian and vehicular counts are taken?
Yes, typically in the spring. In the past, we've done fall and spring counts. In that case, potentially, if we do the fall counts, we could relay to them that the findings, you're well short, or. But in either case, any changes to the program typically will take place at the start of the school year. We haven't ever pulled out locations mid-year or added or done, made large-scale changes to add or delete locations during the school year.
Okay. So, I guess,
yeah, and spring also has higher, because of the, maybe the warmer weather, higher pedestrian counts, or that's typically the counts we've used to reference against each other and actually utilize. Yeah, I mean, what Jim is referring to is if we, under this program with the Public Works Director being the responsible party, that in that situation, if the counts clearly do meet, then it is possible that we could go ahead and implement the program right away at those locations. It's the ones that the annual report would be maybe more focused on changes or deletions, or it would be maybe mentioned in there, but we wouldn't necessarily have to wait if there was some extenuating circumstance at one location.
okay. All right. So, my final question would be: is it possible? Because look, that there could be a months-long timeline, right, before the Public Works Director has to make a decision on a request to add a location, and then from there, the Traffic Commission doesn't necessarily meet every month. I mean, I know that that's the intent, but the reality is sometimes we meet 6 times a year. And so if there's delay in getting the report to us, I'm going to call it, it's a perfunctory hearing on a report. Isn't that just going to delay the process even more? I mean, isn't there a way that if somebody gets their request denied by the Public Works Director, that they can appeal to the City Council, and they can? And I think that's better for whoever's making the request, and I think it's better for the Commission. I think it just expedites a more timely decision, final decision, rather than having to wait for us to convene just to hear a report. And have that be the triggering event for the appeal timeline. Is it possible?
Yeah, most of the appeal processes at the city, they go, for instance, in planning, they go from planning to the Planning Commission, then to the council, and so that would be, I guess, slightly different than how it usually is structured. I also believe the City Council wants to set the policy, but not necessarily, administer the policy. I think that they're looking to the Traffic Commission to do that. So,
But we wouldn't be doing that, though. We're not administering any policy if we're just receiving a report and being told that this is what's approved and that's it. We're not doing anything. So I'm thinking about, I'm thinking about time, and I'm thinking about being in the shoes of the person who's making the request, and how quickly can I just get a final decision on this? I'm just trying to eliminate some unnecessary step that doesn't really seem like it serves much purpose.
Yeah, the existing user fee manual for the city has a procedure to appeal a staff decision to the traffic commission or to planning commission. It's structured quite the same. So in that case, that could be that is an avenue for the staff. I mean, for the resident to get a potentially a faster hearing date here at the traffic commission, and maybe not need to wait till the normal time of the spring, the spring count, or the annual report that comes to the traffic commission. So that would give them an avenue to have it heard as a standalone, although they would have to pay the appeal fee to get there. Whereas under this structure, bringing it to the traffic commission doesn't require an appeal fee. It's just part of our annual process.
Okay, so there is there is an alternate procedure whereby they could pay an appeal fee and the matter would be brought to us
By itself, yes.
by itself as a standalone item. Okay,
That's one element in the user fee manual, and I don't, the city attorney can advise if that sounds wrong, but
Yeah, I mean, I'm not particularly familiar with that fee and what it can be used for. I'd have to take a look at that.
Yeah.
But I guess the question is say they file the fee and they get a hearing, and there's not really the discretion at this level,
Right.
for a change of the decision.
but at least at that point, then this would make sense that it came to us and now you got 14 days to appeal to the city council. I mean, if you go that route, then this seems to make more sense, and it seems like we would have a purpose then, more so than just receiving a report.
well, the nature of the policy being numeric and objective, then I guess it eliminates some of the gray area. If the intersection doesn't meet the counts, then there's really nothing to discuss or appeal on one end. I mean, it doesn't qualify, right? So,
Right. I suppose
yeah.
the only question is if the requesting party disagrees, or has some contrary evidence that they want considered in the the calculus for whether the minimum standards are met, or whether the alternatives, any one of the alternatives are met. And so, I'm just asking a question.
Right. We haven't encountered that in the history of the program, that type of situation where refusal to acknowledge the data, or there's only 100 cars, supposed to be 300, and non-acceptance of that information, I suppose. So
Sure, and I have no reason
Yeah.
to doubt that. My bigger point is that I'm just trying to figure out what our actual role is in all of this going forward, because this is now a revision. It's a material revision from the last proposed resolution that we saw, which actually did have us having a role in the process, but now we really don't have a role in the process. And so I'm trying to inquire as to whether there is a more expedited way for a requesting party who has their request denied to get a final decision, rather than waiting for it to come through us when we don't really do anything with it. So I think I've beat this horse to death, but yeah, we can dig it up again later. But are there any other questions, Commissioner Hayek, Fletcher?
I have a few.
I killed whatever questions were left. Okay. Well, if there are no questions, then
No, I've got a few questions, Mr. Chair.
oh, okay. Commissioner Fletcher.
Not to beat the dead horse. The proverbial horse. Thank you, of course, for the presentation. I too kind of struggled with kind of piecing that all together. And I saw kind of the shift to giving the Public Works Director kind of that discretionary authority, not discretionary authority, but giving the Public Works Director that authority. I saw it very similar to the way, you know, you had mentioned kind of the planning department runs. The planning director would have some authority vested within him or her to make certain kind of over-the-counter administrative decisions and get that information out to an applicant or somebody interested in, you know, a proposal or a change. Or my only thought and maybe suggestion as I watch the conversation here develop is, you know, maybe what needs to happen at the, you know, be it maybe it's at the fee resolution level or the way this plays out. You know, I would hate for somebody who, within, let's say, a month after we have our yearly hearing on this, and says, I really think this intersection needs a new crossing guard and has to wait 11 months to really kind of have that come back around. But that being said, maybe the change is, you know, the Public Works Director in that letter to that applicant denying the project, we build in there, and this is something we can consider at a later time because it's not really pertinent here, is we build in there a direct appeal right to the city council, just giving them, it skips us, and I understand that, but the way this is written with what authority we have or don't have, you know, we don't have the authority vested within us to overrule something that is objectively based. But it does give that resident the ability to perhaps much quicker than the way this is written, hear the yes or in this instance, the no from the Public Works Director and have an avenue to hear the appeal. Because I just think ultimately it's important, you know, that's kind of my proposal is you maybe look at that and just tweak it because it's just about giving that option to the resident for a direct appeal, and it goes to city council. Yes, there's obviously a more significant cost with staff time, but it's kind of a middle of the road approach to what I think I'm hearing tonight that could possibly just not delay our services to our community, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Just again, we're just throwing darts and seeing what ideas stick here, but that was just something that I thought could maybe be considered if staff and the commission here wants to look down that road. Can you remind me, I think, what did we say? I mentioned it in the last hearing. Was 1999 was the last time we really kind of dug into this issue?
Issue meaning the policy?
The policy, yeah. I think it was
maybe even before that, but yeah, right around then.
It was 99, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me just give me just a second to go through my notes here. Is there any report that then gets to city council on a consent calendar or just something, a report to city council about what the Public Works Director has decided and ran through the Traffic Commission?
Not as currently structured. However, they have to approve the funding for the program every year through the operation budget. So they it's included in there, but to what granular detail of location by location, I'm not really sure about. But
Okay.
They do contribute or approve the budget, so that by that virtue they're involved.
I also know just those budget sessions can get, a macro issue dialed into one, maybe two city council meetings at best. I think if there'd be some kind of report that even just gets to city council, you throw it on a consent calendar, just something again to keep informing the public what's being decided here at City Hall. If they happen to miss the Traffic Commission, our annual Traffic Commission report, just something. Give the public another opportunity to see the same report the Traffic Commission receives. I mean, that's just my suggestion. And when, just in terms of when we would do our review annually versus when the city, playing out kind of your thought process on the budget, when we hear the issue and annually, when does the budget happen in relation, if I could ask?
The budget's happening on a fiscal year basis, and it's happening actually right now over the next few months, and it will get adopted by March or April, and ultimately approved finally in like June.
June, okay.
Right. So that if you back up from there, the any annual changes to the program, if we would bring the summary report to the Traffic Commission in March or April, that time frame, probably April, in the spring, and then that would allow that then to be programmed in at the before the end of the budget process,
Okay.
and then to have any changes to be implemented over the summertime.
Got it. Understood.
The 1 year deferral also helps kind of, you can plan for that a little bit, or it's not, things aren't changing quite as fast, so
Well,
you can see it coming, and then you can kind of.
And to your point there, that's kind of the reason why I brought up the idea of just having one more just report get sent to the council on maybe consent, or just another avenue, because we do have that 1 year buffer. So it's not like we're going to take away, but council needs all the facts to make their determination on budget and cycles. And, I just more information to the council and to the public, I think, is valuable, especially because this, just from the folks I talk to, seems to be a very, a subject a lot of people in the community tend to be passionate about. I didn't have any other questions, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Pletcher. Any other questions of staff from any of the commissioners? Commissioner Hayek.
I was thinking about what Commissioner Farris said about the procedure, and in reading this, I'm thinking maybe number 3 really should be number 5, because if you follow the process, really we're just receiving the summary of everything that happened. So, I mean, just the chronology of it is just, if you're looking at it from a flow perspective, maybe number 3 should be number 5. Then it kind of wraps up the summary of 1, 2, 3, and 4, and we receive the reports of 1, 2, 3, and 4. Just a thought.
That would be if also number 4, we're changing 14 days of the Traffic Commission meeting to the Public Works Director's decision, or,
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah.
And on current number 5, so if it doesn't meet the criteria, but it'll still get a crossing guard for that following year, right? But the notification will go out that the location will cease to, there will be no crossing guard the year after that. So if that determination, let's say it's spring of 23 and a determination is made that a location is not going to get a crossing guard, 23, 24 they get a crossing guard, but 24, 25 they don't. So in 23 there'll be notification that goes out that location will no longer exist in 24, 25. Will it be reevaluated in that other year before
Yes.
that final year goes? Okay.
Yep.
This one. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any more questions? Commissioner Ferris?
The only question I had is, I think for procedure, are there going to be public comments and then we have a little bit extra after? I'm happy to wait just to make sure we follow that process.
Yeah, what we'll do is, because we've definitely asked a lot of questions, and so at this time, what we can do is offer the public an opportunity to speak on this item before the commission begins its discussion or presents any further questions. Madam Secretary, do we have any speakers on this engineer's report?
No individuals have requested to speak, but we did receive one written statement by email by Kay Isaac, and a copy has been provided to the commissioners.
Thank you. And the commission does acknowledge receipt of the written statement. So before we begin our discussion, do we have any further questions for staff? Okay, Commissioner Ferris.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure we had the opportunity for the public have that as part of the meeting. So through this, I think this has been really helpful just to get a sense of what we're trying to provide as a policy and make it consistent with the 2 previous meetings worth of comments of wanting to do this. I do remember, at least in the past 2 meetings, and Vice Chair Pletcher, I think, has kind of mentioned this, is that giving a forum in some manner, just like the ability for the public to know what the decisions are and have their ability to weigh in, I thought was something that we have. And I think we, have sort of structured that in a way of Public Works Director will make decisions. It will be presented to the Traffic Commission. It will receive a report. There will be a meeting for which that happens. If the desire for the policy is to keep the Traffic Commission as an advisory commission and therefore no actual decisions are made, is it possible that one of the actions that we can in fact take is, in review of that report, is to provide our recommendations about the approvals, denials based upon what the Public Works Director has stated, and that's just our view on it, so that if it gets to the point where someone does want to appeal the decision of the Public Works Director, it goes to the council, they have the fee, that information is at least available, that it was reviewed, it was in public forum, we weighed in, and we may have said we support the Public Works Director's position, or there was additional evidence that was there. We have no official authority, but we are advising at that point. Is that something that could be considered as part of this process to be helpful?
I don't think that's outside of what's maybe been presented, although that appeal process would kind of circumvent the whole process, I guess.
Yeah, and I did have one comment on there, only because, like, with any process, you kind of look for ways to, work the process to your advantage. If someone wanted to say, I know that things would go to the Traffic Commission, but if I got an automatic appeal without having to pay a fee to the City Council, maybe I'll just wait to have something in writing and evaluated, and the director would deny it, and I would get my case to the City Council, and it sort of potentially circumvents the process. I don't think I think we want to try and figure out how to enable the public to get their case heard and be fair in the right way. I just want to make sure we're doing it in a way that does provide the public the opportunity to have their voices heard. But I guess, get the understanding a lot of this is driven by the prior process has been evaluation. It's come to the Traffic Commission, and the City Council weighs in every year. Like, they have to make a decision. I think it sounds like they may want to not have to do that every year, and only in circumstances to where a decision's made and someone appeals it does the council get involved to weigh in. Is that kind of consistent with what we think the council is looking for here?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yep.
I would like to hear the commissioner's views on any additions to that.
Well, one further question I have for staff is to follow up on Commissioner Ferris's comments. Number 3 in the proposed resolution says that we're getting a report, but it's only on approvals. So, I mean, Commissioner Ferris says, well, isn't there a way for us to make recommendations on, any adverse action that was taken on a request, but we're not even going to know about it because we're only getting a report that tells us what the approved crossing guard locations are. So if Commissioner Ferris's comment was to be considered, I think we would have to change item number 3, wouldn't we?
To say approved or denied, or the complete list.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's what the intent was. So, yeah.
Okay. Any further questions for staff? Commissioner Pletcher. Vice Chair Pletcher.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No, I tend to agree. I agree with what's been previously said right here, and I guess in my head, I kind of envision this report as being it's comprehensive. It's a look at the entire program for the year. It's approvals, denials, everything that's been done by the Public Works Director for the year. I mean, essentially, I view it, to put it in constitutional language terms, it's the check and balance on the public works director's actions for the year. So I'll throw that out there. This is the process in which the public forum in which we dive into the program for the year, evaluate it top to bottom, talk about what the public works director did or did not do, and the public's able to come and voice comment regarding that. So that's kind of my sense of how number 3 plays out. Is I would tweak some of the language to be it more a comprehensive report on the entire program versus just the locations for the upcoming year. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, any further questions? Going once, it's going twice, it's gone. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to close this item to public comments and open discussion among the commissioners. Does anybody want to kick off on the comments? Commissioner Ferris.
All right, thank you. I do understand the nature of keeping the Traffic Advisory Commission as an advisory commission. I do think that the discussion we've had here is trying to figure out how to play a constructive role in the ability of implementing the policy on behalf of the council, yet still making sure the public has some sense of their city government is hearing them, even if it isn't necessarily something we can change the actual decision on. We might be able to advise on it. So I'm in favor, I think, of the nature of the way the policy has been written, given all those sorts of things. With if there's a way we can add in that we would provide our recommendations on the public works directors. I don't know the right language, but just whatever our review of that is on the approved and denied locations as part of the report we receive. And if there's any specific language changes that we should have either in the reordering to make it easier to understand the flow, as well as ensuring clarity that the report will encompass all locations evaluated by the Public Works Director for that year. I think that would be helpful. So.
I agree. I think that's probably a good proposed revision to make to the resolution. Just to clarify that the Traffic Commission will receive a comprehensive report on all currently approved as well as denied requests for new crossing guard locations which would give us some mechanism by which to make a recommendation to City Council as far as a recommendation as far as further action on the request, at least the denied requests go. But I guess I'm still kind of concerned about that this only comes to us once a year. And it just seems like, I think the example given in the course of the discussion was that, somebody makes a request for a crossing guard location after the school year starts, and, they're going to potentially be waiting, many months, or they're going to make a request after we've, heard the annual report, and they're going to be waiting an extended period of time. It just doesn't seem like that's really responsive government. It seems like there should be some other avenues by which to get that request pumped through the pipeline a little bit faster. That's my comment. Commissioner Vice Chair Pletcher.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As far as number 3 goes, kind of following up on your time, your kind of beginning revisions, I'll just throw out there the way I kind of foresee it is annually the Traffic and Transportation Advisory Commission will receive a comprehensive report from the Public Works Director on the crossing guard program for the upcoming school year. It's comprehensive, it's on the entire program, and it's for the upcoming school year. I mean, obviously, I haven't ran it by staff to see if that checks out on the city attorney end or anything, but kind of seems to check some of our boxes of what we've been saying here tonight. And then to Commissioner Ferris's point, and I'll turn to staff for this, but I would like maybe a line in there that says something about then at the Traffic and Transportation Advisory Commission meeting, you'll receive feedback and comment from us on the report. So it kind of gets all packaged together for the public record. I still think, again, and I'll throw it out to the greater group here, I still think then that should just get packed up and put on a city council consent item for just a future meeting. Doesn't have to be the next one, doesn't have to be, whenever it can get to the city council. Just again, coming back to, and I've screamed it from the rooftops, just making the public aware about what's going on at City Hall. So I'll throw that next point out for discussion of the greater group here. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Sure. Any further comments? Commissioner Ferris?
Yeah, I thank you. I was that like Vice Chair Pletcher's wording of 3. I had some changes too as and don't know what the right best wording should be, but in that is instead of on the approved crossing guard locations, it might be on all evaluated crossing guard locations. But if we believe that the crossing guard program, if that's fully encompassing of all evaluated locations, I would be fine. But that would be the intent I'd want to see, because we'd want to know what decisions did the Public Works Director make. Let's make those public. Let's at least review them. And I do like, I think the way Vice Chair Pletcher has crafted it, which is rather than us saying we will provide our specific recommendations on approval deny, it's just we will provide our feedback and input on the report to be included as part of the report or something like that. Because I think that then it gives us a role with respect to advising, and it allows the Traffic Commission meeting on the program to have some public benefit. Now, my understanding then would be, even if we were to recommend that the report goes to City Council for a consent item for them to receive the report, that does not change the opportunity for someone to actually appeal it and have that become an agenda item for the City Council to review that decision of the Public Works Director. Is that correct?
Yeah, that
Okay.
would still be maintained.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think
Not
that
number 4.
that provides, to me, I think that provides a comprehensive process that the public can get involved with. And I guess one last part is that I do share fellow commissioners' thoughts about sort of, if people want to recommend having a crossing guard sometime, maybe at the beginning of the school year or something like that the opportunity to hear it. But in some ways, we all, not to be inefficient, some of we're striving toward efficiency and being too cold about it, but we do know when the school year starts, and if we are, open about if you want to have that evaluated, here are the timeframes in which to do that, then it can be part of the yearly evaluation of the program. What I worry about is people not necessarily working through that evaluation and kind of circumventing it, and I mean, I could see people gaming the system if they knew how to do that, and I don't think that would be the intent we'd want. So.
Thank you, Commissioner Ferris. So if we're going to receive an annual report, is there any thoughts about when we should be receiving that report? Should we be receiving it at the end of the school year? Should we receive it at the end of a school year so that we can provide comments and feedback on the report in time for the beginning of the next school year? Or, I mean, is that a point worth discussing? I mean, I don't know. Commissioner, Vice Chair Pletcher.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In my mind, I don't see the timeline changing. I think if they're doing, objectively, they're doing counts in the spring, right?
Early spring, yeah.
Early spring. Essentially, and you know, I'm not the data analyst commissioner up here, but oh, you know who you are. But you know, to me, having the freshest numbers, freshest data, being able to look at things as they currently stand and where the public works director would make recommendations. In my mind, I don't see that timeline changing. But you know, I'm happy to hear of any other recommendations on kind of how to alternate that process.
Well, so is the contemplation that we get the annual report after the spring counts? Okay.
As it currently stands.
Right, okay. I mean, is there any thought that maybe the resolution should say that? Because the way it's written now is annually is at any point during the year. But, you know, I'm thinking that there should be, look, I'm looking at this from the standpoint of clarity. If I'm Joe Blow on the street and I'm reading a resolution, I mean, I'd like to know when things are going to happen. And something happening annually doesn't really tell me when that's going to be. So I think you should put yourselves in the position of somebody who wants a crossing guard location added, and they're reading a resolution and trying to figure out what is the process. Vice Chair Pletcher.
Throwing language out. Something to the effect of within a reasonable time after the annual counts have been made. Something to the effect of, I'm looking at the city attorney to help me on this, but it's the annual counts are the ones that trigger the meeting, essentially. Trigger the public works director looking at the issue, evaluating it, making decisions, and bringing it to us.
Yeah, I think we could revise the word annually to within 60 days of the public work director determination on the crossings. The report will come to the commission. Or, I mean, it's whatever reasonable time frame that staff thinks is reasonable, you know, to be able to get that evaluation completed and, you know, agendized and in front of the commission.
Thank you. Can I ask?
You kind of see, though, like one triggers the other. The counts trigger the evaluation by the public works director. So, you know, I like the city attorney's language personally. Because that could happen if we flip the whole process 10 years down the road and suddenly we're doing fall counts, and that would still play out the exact same way as the city attorney proposes. We would, if for some reason we start doing just fall counts, public works director looks at the evaluation, makes the call, in 60 days it's in front of us.
Yeah, look, that makes sense to me. And if I could ask staff, I mean, if we were to put that type of parameter on when the report would make its way to the traffic commission, you know, 60 days, within 60 days of the last count being taken, does that seem reasonable?
I think the recommendation maybe was from the decision.
Yeah, from the decision, sorry.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Commissioner Hayek.
So I had mentioned this at the last meeting, but I still struggle with the elimination of Madronia off of this. I think the language of within the city limits does that. I recognize that the reasoning behind it. I also recognize that they don't qualify for crossing guard now, but to close that door on it forever, I just have a hard time supporting it that way. I would prefer to see that language taken away, because it is in an era of school choice, and we have, you know, kids from all over the district potentially going to any school. I just would like to see that removed, and have it included in there. If staff sees that, you know, maybe in that case, when something is brought to the traffic commission for evaluation, it could be noted that this is, or an appeal is made, that this is not within city limits, and then a decision or a recommendation can be made at that time. But just to put this moving forward just kind of shuts the door on it completely, and I would rather not see that.
Commissioner Hayek, where's the language? Where's the specific language?
So on the first
Oh.
sentence there, the last part of it says locations within city limits.
See. Yeah, I see it. There's,
If they've never had one, I can understand, but it was always included in there, and now we're essentially just removing one of the 28 schools that, I mean, we can say it's not within the city limits, but that's for a number of different reasons of incorporated areas, et cetera. This is my opinion. Thank you.
so let me ask you this question then. So how would you revise that language then?
I would just remove within city limits.
Is there any comment from any of the other commissioners on that?
Can we see if staff has anything to say in response?
I mean, it's somewhat of a form over substance. I mean, the reality is that this policy is going to apply to the jurisdiction of the city of Thousand Oaks, right? And I'm a little unclear on how that location came to be, but the reality is that what we're going to be doing is evaluating locations within our city, right? Like, I don't believe that our evaluation criteria is going to apply to locations in Ventura County or city of Los Angeles or San Diego or any other jurisdiction other than the city of Thousand Oaks.
Commissioner Ferris.
I think the challenge with the city of Thousand Oaks is that we have islands, right? Where if you were to ask people, so is this inside the city? And you're going to get a legalistic answer of no, and most people will go, of course it is. And I think that's kind of the I mean, I don't want to speak for Commissioner Hayek, but I think that's sort of like the public is going to go, yeah, I mean, I totally get it, but why? Why can't my kids, I live in the city of Thousand Oaks, why can't my kids have a crossing guard? And, you know, it gives the opportunity for the Public Works Director and staff to be able to provide, you know, their understanding of whether the city council should support the paying for a crossing guard. But, and I get it. I mean, I understand, like, you know, it's within the technical jurisdiction of it, but it's because we have islands in the city that we're kind of having this discussion right now. I don't think anybody would say, yeah, we're going to go and pay for funding in Camarillo. But, you know, it depends on when you ask whether it's inside the city or not. Depends on who's giving the answer. So I would be supportive if we removed the language for city limits and allow that to be part of the evaluation by city staff and potentially an appeal to the city council if that's what the public wants to push.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my own comment is I would tend to agree with that. I mean, this is this is kind of handcuffing this is kind of restraining what could be when I don't think that we necessarily need to be putting restraints on right now. I mean, I think everybody would understand the resolution if we just took the within the city limits language out. So, I mean, I would be supportive of that as well. Is there anything else? Vice Chair Pletcher?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A quick question for staff just on that issue. Let's put Madronia aside, but I do know there's a few other schools that rest within these county donuts or islands or whatever you want to call them. My question is, if staff today, under the current program, received a request to go look at a school that may be in a county pocket, can you walk me through just quickly how that would be handled?
I mean, if the intersection is not an intersection that's under our jurisdiction, then we really don't have any ability to extend services there. So I believe the Madrona is the only
Madrona
location.
kind of just this weird thing that's lasted over just a amount of
I believe
years?
so. I don't think there's any other schools that are in the unincorporated areas. Yeah, I think that might be the only one.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I just wanted to get a sense of what the current response would be. That's all, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Do we have any other items to discuss with regard to the proposed resolution?
Is there any, again, I come back to just getting a sense of the commission on packaging together that comprehensive report with the updates, with our feedback, and just putting it on council calendar. I just wanted to be clear, is that there seems to be some nodding heads. Okay. I just want to make sure that issue's been discussed. I don't know if, for those playing along at home or at the staff level, do we have an idea of what paragraph 3 in the policies and procedures now looks like? Something that we could just grasp our head around before we move on to a motion?
Well, maybe we could attack it this way. I've taken some notes, and I think there's 5 things that appear to have some consensus, 5 specific revisions, and they don't necessarily relate to any particular section. But I could go through them, and maybe that would be a basis for a motion. From my standpoint, it sounds like the 5 things that may be revised in this document would be: 1, to revise to clarify that the annual report is comprehensive and includes all of the locations that were evaluated. Number 2, that there would be a report after the Traffic Advisory Commission that would go to the City Council with any comments from the Commission. Number 3, that the appeal period would start from the day of the Public Works Director's decision as opposed to the TTAC meeting. 4, that the report would be provided to TTAC within 60 days of the Public Works Director's decision. And then 5, delete the term "within the city limits" at the beginning of the policy.
I think that captures a lot of the comments that were made up here this evening. The one question about the timetable for appeal following a rejection by the Public Works Director, that would be we talked about a couple of different things. Would that be a direct appeal to the City Council, or would that be essentially an appeal to the Traffic Commission as a standalone item?
As I understood it, the appeal would be directly to the City Council as drafted in the policy right now. That's how I understood the direction, but if that wasn't the intent, then that's something
The
that we
policy
could
right now is
revise.
appealing the Traffic Commission decision to the council. So now that we're making that from the Public Works Director's decision, then I guess there's an opportunity to go either way. That to be appealed to the Traffic Commission or to be appealed directly to the City Council.
Yeah, although I don't understand why they would appeal it to the commission if they could just go directly to the City Council. Commissioner Hayek.
Would the council have flexibility to say, or the option to say, if it is appealed to them, that they want the Traffic Commission to hear it first and make a recommendation? Or would the policy not permit that, and it would just have to go to the council, and the council would have to make the decision? I mean, I guess the
Yeah.
council could do whatever they want. I just, whether this policy is restrictive in that regard, if the council may want to hear those appeals, or they may want to refer them down to the traffic commission.
One other point with regard to that to consider is that if we revise it as contemplated in point number 4, which was to have the commission review the determinations within 60 days, if someone's required to appeal within 14 days, they're going to have to file an appeal before they have an opportunity to express their concerns in front of the commission. So that, I mean, take that into consideration on moving that date. I mean, that may be a reason to keep the 14 days from the date of the report at the commission level.
Yeah, I think that's a good
Yeah.
observation, because, I mean, at the outside, you're looking at, you have a denial, potentially a denial by the Public Works Director, and the timetable to get that denial in front of the commission wasn't it 60 days?
So it sounds like the proposed revision would be to have the report on the Public Works Director's decision to this body within 60 days.
Within 60 days, and then they have a 14-day appeal period after that. So you're looking at, on the outside, 75 days
Correct.
from rejection or denial to the city council to file the appeal with the city council.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would probably be a little bit longer to get to the city council, but
Right.
yeah, the appeal would be within 75 days of the decision.
Okay. Well, I mean, you know, that's a reasonable timetable, though. I feel, but I would open it up for discussion among the commissioners. Commissioner Ferris.
Yeah, so that was in some ways one of the questions I was going to have was when it says the appeal of the Public Works Director's decision. Is it on the location or is it on the recommendations of the program? Because it you know, unless we're clear about that, it could be, you know, but what I like, at least from the clarity of the process, would be Public Works Director makes his or her recommendations. It is encapsulated in a report. That report has to come to the Traffic Commission within 60 days. We are then going to have a public hearing about it. The public is available. They could provide, and we will provide our comments. And if people like or don't like what they hear or about the Public Works decision, they have 14 days to appeal. It's a reasonable time frame. People would understand how that works. So I want to make sure that
And going through this process would be an educational process too for the residents to get the annual program update and all the parameters and a little bit more broader sense understanding. Yeah.
So for that I would be more, I would be aligned with that as the process. Clarity on the time frame when it gets to the Traffic Commission, clarity then on the time frame of appeal to the council if they wanted to have that council, that decision of the Public Works Director reviewed by the council. But then also that, I guess, just to clarify, so it's like the language about city limits, that the report would be comprehensive and include all locations evaluated, and that the report after the Traffic Commission meeting would incorporate our comments and be presented to the council for their to receive that report. I think that was it. What was number 4 again? Your fourth comment?
60 days.
That was a
60
60-day provision, yeah.
Oh, got it. I can't read my scribbling here, so. All right, thank you. I think they at least covered it from my perspective. Thank you.
Okay. So, Vice Chair Pletcher.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you to the city attorney for keeping track of everything that we've said, coming back to that horse without mentioning the horse. That being said, I will make a recommendation that, where is it? on their staff report, it says recommend the city council approve, but yeah, I guess that's the way I can say it. I would make the recommendation and the motion that we recommend the city council approve the draft City of Thousand Oaks School Crossing Guard Program standards and policies as amended and noted by the city attorney's 5 points. Do you want me to read them out? Or is that sufficient in the record?
Well, one point of clarity, because I believe what I heard is that point number 3, which is to change the appeal period from 14 days of the Public Works Director's decision, we want to get rid of that one and keep it within 14 days of the commission's hearing.
Yes.
That's right.
So the amendments would be 1 to
4
revise.
points.
There'd be four amendments.
Yeah.
1 to revise and clarify that the annual report is comprehensive and includes all of the locations evaluated. 2, to include a provision that a report to the city council will be made with any comments from the commission. That the report from the Public Works Director would be provided to the commission within 60 days of determination, and that we will delete the words within the city limits from the opening paragraph of the policy.
Yes. Enumerated in the resolution submitted within the report. So as amended, as stated by the city attorney, the assistant city attorney, that's my motion. I think we got there.
Do we need discussion on the motion, or are we ready for a vote?
I like it.
I think we vote now if we like it.
I think we're ready.
I'm new at this, but maybe that's what we do.
Madam Secretary, can you call the vote?
Commissioner Ferris,
Yes.
Commissioner Hayek,
Yes.
Vice Chair Pletcher,
Yes.
Chair Imel.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0. Commissioner Lemo is absent. The Traffic Commission makes recommendations to the City Council and interested parties may attend the City Council meeting and speak either for or against the recommendation of the Traffic Commission. Any person wishing to appeal a decision of the Traffic Commission shall file a written appeal and pay an appeal fee with the City Clerk Department within 14 calendar days of this decision. The matter will be referred to the City Council at the earliest reasonable and available date. The appeal fee will be refunded only if the City Council overturns the Traffic Commission's decision. An appeal form is available from the recording secretary.
Okay, thank you, Madam Secretary. Moving on to agenda item number 7, status report of prior Traffic Commission recommendations. There is none. Number 8, Commission referrals from November 16th, 2022. Again, there is none. Number 9, our work program and commission schedule. Do the commissioners have any questions of staff regarding work program or schedule? No questions. Now, number 10, Traffic Commission comments. We do have Vice Chair Pletcher.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First off, thank you to city staff for their hard work on this item. But kind of, I've heard from a number of the members of the public who wanted to follow along in this process and had an incredible amount of difficulty doing so on our website. May I make the recommendation? You know, currently our agenda as it sits on the website doesn't have hyperlinks to the PDFs for the staff reports. You have to access it kind of through the back way, a whole different path. Most of the public is used to literally, you know, typing Traffic and Transportation Advisory Commission, going to that page, clicking agenda, you know, and accessing the agenda. But I've heard from a number of staff that had to either reach out to the city to get the report or just had difficulty to the point where I screenshotted the report and literally put it up on Twitter just to get it to folks that were asking me for it. So if over the next, 2023, as we move into 2023, if I can just ask that we hyperlink just on that Traffic and Transportation Advisory Commission page agenda. Make it simple for the public to follow along and be able to comment and just provide any feedback they wish. That's all. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. All right, item number 11, future meetings. That's an interesting discussion. Given the election cycle, there may be some of us that won't be back here. So I don't know what we would really have to say about cancellation of the January 2023 meeting. Yeah, I mean, I think it would be wise to make a motion to cancel that meeting, just given the circumstances. So do we have a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'm happy to make the motion that we cancel our January 18th, 2023 meeting as originally scheduled.
Do we need a second for that? I don't believe so. Madam Secretary, can you take the vote?
Commissioner Ferris,
Yes.
Commissioner Hayek,
No.
Commissioner or Vice Chair Pletcher,
Yes.
Chair Imel.
Yes.
Okay, so motion carries 3-1. Chair Lemo is absent.
Okay, so at this point, we're at item 12, which is the adjournment. So, yeah, in that case, the next meeting to be held at 6:00 p.m. on February 15th, 2023, or at some point thereafter in the boardroom of the Civic Arts Plaza on the 3rd floor. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate everybody's effort and time, patience with us as we talk to death the agenda items. Have a good night.